Hey guys, it's Jim Bounds at Motorhome Rehab Ranch, and this is like episode, I think, 5 of getting a motorhome home to your new place, to its new home, into your house. Review just a little bit. We're going to talk about price now, so get your pen and piece of paper. I'm going to show you what it's going to cost. Now, these are bare minimums of something that I would do to have tools and parts available. First one was the alternator. I pulled out his alternator and had it remanufactured as a one wire alternator. It needs no trigger wire. See, the plug won't plug back into it right here. Only output, only connection is right there. Put a larger diode pack in it and made it self-exciting. And the cost of this baby was $135. Okay. Now, remember before, if we're going to be adding what the cost is to get this motorhome, this was the Harbor Freight receipt from yesterday. These are the tools I think is necessary. This is $393.31. Central Florida remanufactured is $135. If you remember, the Senlax ACR 160 that we're going to be replacing the boost solenoid and the isolator with was about $125 online. Senlax ACR 160. The last 3 coaches that I drove, isolators were bad, and the last 2 coaches that I drove, the alternator went out. So this is a modification that I want to do. Why? Because I can and I want it. Next one is something that I brought with me to Utah. This is a Spectre inline 3/8 output, input and output, cleanable fuel filter. The reason I have this is 1, you can see flow, and 2, you can open it and clean it. Going to Utah, we clean one of these things every 40 miles. Open it up, get a can of starter fluid, blow it off, put it back together. We had it down to about 2 minutes. Now, in this time, we're going to be putting this right next to the mechanical fuel pump up front. There's a rubber hose in there. We're going to put this inline there. It's a little bit susceptible to stones and things like that, but if it is hit, the fuel will go down, it will shut off, and it'll be safe. But real easily, I can see if we've got flow, and if it is dirty, I can go in the front of the coach and change it and do what I need to do without getting run over by a truck. I think it's a good thing. This from AutoZone was $16.99. Sometimes you can find these for $12 or something like this online, but it's important. This is if you have a steel tank, this is going to get you there, guaranteed. All right. The air compressor, the Via air compressor, was about $275. Okay. We determined we were not creating air. Chances are it's a compressor. When I get into it, if it is, I'll have it with me. Fuel flow. We've got to get the fuel from a container into the motor. And we're hoping that the original fuel tanks that are in it, they were cleaned recently. So we're hoping to use the fuel in the tank. Okay. This is a Wix 33048. These were $6 a piece. This is a sacrificial filter that Rochester, the carburetor folks, put in the front of the carburetor, in the snout of the carburetor. This is a 5-micron filter. This gets the sand and silt, because Rochester knew that if they let all that sand and silt get into their carburetor, it's going to mess up. So I'm going to put in a new one of these when we start, and I'm going to carry 2 more with us in the glove box. These are $6 a piece. I think it's important to do that. Have 10 feet of fuel hose. It's $3.40 a foot, 330 cents a foot. So we have 10 feet of that and 4 clamps. Okay, if we get in there and we got a clamp bad, it starts to suck air or whatever, we need some clamps. So we got 4 clamps. I think they're 50 cents a piece. Okay. Along with the clamps, if we get in there, and I'm going to put a new battery in, and if we find out that the battery connectors, cables are bad, either they won't clamp down anymore or they're real nasty and a lot of corrosion on them, we can cut them off. This is I don't like these, but in a pinch, this is a 2-gauge connector. This is pretty nice, right? These are like, I don't know, I think it was $2 or $3 a piece. No, $7.95 a piece, excuse me. But I got 2 of those in case we needed to do it. Another thing that when I was looking at the Coach before, the fuel cap on the thing was not a vented cap. This has a vent in the top of it. The one that was on there was just a seal cap. So we got a new cap. It was like $7 for that. Fan clutch. Fan clutch that's in it is working, but a fan clutch sits in a long time and the seal starts to leak here and it leaks all the fluid out of it. So this is a fan clutch, is a Hayden 2747. May get home the 1,500 miles without it, but if it goes out, you're done. And you need to keep one of these with you all the time anyway. Hoses. This part number, this is an upper radiator hose. This part number is a 21378. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a 20991. 20991 is replacement. You'll cut off one corner of this replacement for the upper radiator hose. You get the number? 20991. This is a 21378. This is a replacement for the lower hose. You'll cut it off the length it needs to be, but this is a good replacement for the lower radiator hose.
What is the number on that?
The number on that one, thank you, is a 21378. Now, if you have a 455 engine, this upper radiator hose, 20991 works. If you have a 403, this one will not work. Give me a call and I'll give you a part number. I forgot to get it with me. But I would always carry an upper and a lower radiator hose. The ones that are on it look good, but again, we don't know the age or what's going on. It's the first time it goes into a heat cycle, we'll know. Next thing, when I pulled the alternator out, I checked the belts. The belts were good, but if the belt goes out, you're messed up. And you always need to have an extra belt with you all the time. 7450 is the power steering belt, and the 7570 is the alternator belt. So you have one each of those. Right here, module, a coil, and a pickup. If you break down, you say, do you have fuel or fire? In other words, can you look down the carburetor and push the accelerator and does it shoot fuel? Yes or no? And if you pull one of the plug wires off, stick a screwdriver in it and turn it over, will it shoot a spark? Yes or no? If you have no spark, there's one of 3 items in that motorhome that has to do with spark. And if you have all 3 of them, then you're set. The first one is under the distributor cap. It's the module. This, I like to have a Delco module. This is a GM Delco module. It has 2 screws that hold it, and it's got a connector on each side. Very easy. When you pull off the distributor cap, you'll see this. This is the only electronic part in our Coach originally. This is basically 4 diodes that create a full wave bridge rectifier. But you always want to have another one of these. If the Coach gets hot, this might fail. Next thing you want to have is a coil. On the top of our distributors, all the wires come in. It's a plastic cap, and there's one of these in there. This is a coil. Okay. How do you put it in? You put it back in the same one that you took out. Okay. I like Delco. This is a Delco coil as well. Now, if you have a 73 or 4 that has a points distributor in it, I'm sorry, you don't want to really use that. And if you know that for a fact, you can buy a complete distributor for $150 or something like that. You still need to have backups. You still need to have a coil. You need to have a module. And the third component in a distributor that shoots, because if you put 12 volts to it, it'll shoot sparks. The third component is a pickup. Now, this is inside the distributor. It's not just a bolt in. You'd have to pull out the distributor, put this in. But if you find that the coil and the module are doing their job, then this is the only other part that can be bad. And if you have a mechanic or ability, you can put it in. If you have it, you got a chance. If you don't, you're done. All right. So, cost on these. Get your list out. The coil is $86. The pickup is $29. This was not a Delco, it's a standard brand. And then the module is $62. Okay, that is a Delco. All right. We talked about the battery connectors, I believe. You want to have in case you have bad connectors or corroded connectors. The belts. Now, I checked the belts on this thing, and the belts were good. But if there's a problem, you always need to have a spare belt in the coach. 7450 is your power steering belt, and a 7570 is your alternator belt. So if you can have either one of these turn, it'll turn the water pump. Now, there's a third belt. There's an air conditioner belt, and it looked good, but I'm not going to bring one with me because that's not essential to get home. The power steering belt and the alternator belt will turn the water pump, each one of those, and that's what you need to get home. Oh yeah. Starter fluid. This is to clean out the filter. If you find that there's junk in this filter, you open it up, take the element out, and shoot it with starter fluid, and you'll be rolling. We talked about the ACR 160 Senlax. These are about $125 online. All right, so you add all this stuff up. This is scary, guys, but this is a minimum that you really need to feel reasonably confident. You got a total of tools of $393. You have, oh, by the way, and this is with no water pump. I would also carry a water pump. They're about $60 to $80. I would carry a water pump with me. This is without a water pump because there wasn't a leak, and we're only going to go 1,500 miles. And even if the water pump does start to leak, I think we can get there. Again, $393, $135 for the alternator, $125 for the Senlax, and all the parts that we just went over is $605.95. Scary. I know you. Oh my God. Look at it. Look at all the things that I showed you that we did, that we purchased. And these are bare essentials. Okay? Tomorrow, I'm going to take, well, tomorrow, the next video, I'm going to take all of these parts and all the tools. I'm going to go to the coach. I'm going to install the one-wire alternator. I'm going to install the Senlax ACR 160. I'm going to install the 2 batteries. And I'm going to troubleshoot the air ride system, make it all work so it will run. Are we good so far? Good. Look, thank you for your time. I hope this has been helpful to you. The next one, we're going to make it run. Ranch hands, thank you for your support. If you'd like to support me, go to the main page on Patreon and read that and see what it says. Okay, until next time, see you then.